Today's video, an emotional duration. Because it is truly amazing. Every detail. I can't bear to cut any part. I dare say, this is definitely something you've seen. The most complicated case. A pregnant woman's corpse drifted to the banks of the Yujiang River. Just determining the source of the body. The police spent 4 years on this task. And the key to solving the case. It turned out to be a bold hypothesis. This is truly an unbelievably bizarre case. It's incredibly strange. Date, May 7, 2008. Location, Sinan County, Guizhou Province. He Lin is an avid fishing enthusiast, and on that day, he was looking for a suitable fishing spot. Suddenly, he discovered the fishing spot he frequently visited. There was actually a person lying face down. Didn't know until I looked, and when I did, I was so scared I almost peed myself. It turned out to be a woman's corpse, lying face down there. So, the young he couldn't make it home to change his pants. He quickly called the police. After examining the scene, the police discovered the deceased was a young woman around 18 or 19 years old. There were obvious scars on the neck. The trachea and esophagus had been completely severed. Time of death, approximately 10 days ago. And after the autopsy, the police discovered the deceased was actually pregnant. 1 body, 2 lives. The girl was wearing a nightgown on her upper body. The lower body was wearing pants from a certain brand. The feet were wearing a pair of white sports shoes. The police analyzed that she was likely sleeping when it happened. Was called up by someone. Without any defense. She was slashed across the throat by someone. Moreover, from her attire, jewelry, and based on her belongings, the police analyzed that she was likely not from the local area of Sinan. This also aligns with the situation in 2008. The situation in Sinan County, because in 2008, it was the time when the Silan hydropower station was being constructed. There were a large number of migrant workers. This helped the police trace the source of the body. It brought certain difficulties. The Lin Shui hydroelectric station is located upstream of the Yujiang River. It is about 70 to 80 kilometers away from the location where the body was discovered. According to the time of death of the deceased, as well as the speed of the water flow, the police speculated that the girl was near the hydropower station. The possibility of being murdered is very high. Therefore, the first round of investigation by the police focused on women who came to work in Sinan. However, after a thorough investigation, nothing was found. No one matched the victim's physical characteristics, so the police decided expand the investigation range to surrounding cities and counties. Conduct an investigation. But the result was still disappointing, so the police decided change the direction of the investigation. Investigate starting from the fetus in the victim's abdomen. The identity of the biological father of the fetus. Perhaps this is the key to solving the case. The police extracted the DNA from the fetus in the victim's abdomen. Conducted a comparison in the national database. Attempted to find the biological father of the fetus. However, starting from this direction, the police still haven't obtained any valuable clues. However, the police have not given up. Until the beginning of 2018, a man living in Guangdong, a man named UNTOLD, came into the sights of the Sinan police. The DNA comparison finally yielded results. UNTOLD is the biological father of the fetus. The police immediately launched a secret investigation surrounding UNTOLD. But UNTOLD's social connections. His social connections were extremely complex, and his ancestral home was in Chongqing. At the age of 16, he went to Guangdong to work. Later, he mixed with unsavory people in society. He has multiple criminal records, especially in 2007. After 8 years, his whereabouts became even more mysterious. He frequently traveled across the country, mainly to Guangdong. He traveled to places like Chongqing, Hunan, Guizhou, and the police believe that UNTOLD is a major suspect in the case, so the police decided to confront UNTOLD directly. He confessed to the police that he indeed had many girlfriends, but he adamantly denied killing anyone. According to UNTOLD's recollection, at the end of 2007, he had indeed been in a relationship with a girl from Guizhou. They met through a fellow villager named Deng Chao. However, they had only been together for a month. He only remembered that the girl's name was Xie Fang and she was from Guizhou. Specifically, Where in Guizhou was she from? He couldn't remember either, based on the clues provided by UNTOLD. The police searched all over Guizhou province. All the girls named Xie Fang. Finally, the police found a girl matching the description in Jijin County. After being identified by UNTOLD, this Xie Fang is indeed the girl he had dated, and moreover, since 2008, the girl named Xie Fang, her registered information, has not been updated since. Various signs indicate that this girl named Xie Fang, she is likely the victim found by the Yujiang River in Sinan County. To further confirm the identity of the deceased, the police took immediate action to search for Xie Fang's family, and soon, the police found Xie Fang's father, Xie Gang, who was working in Zhejiang. According to Xie Gang's account, he indeed hadn't seen Xie Fang in a long time, but he believes his daughter likely died from the 2008 Wenchuan earthquake. According to Xie Gang's recollection, in January 2008, he was persuaded by his daughter. Xie Fang came to Guangdong to work with him, and she told him she made a friend named Zhang in Guangdong. He could help her find a job, and later. Indeed, Xie Fang was introduced to the job through the man named Zhang. She found a job at a construction site. However, due to his health reasons, after just 3 days, he quit the job, and later, he went to Fujian alone. But what he didn't expect was that this time, the separation from his daughter. It was a permanent separation. According to Xie Gang's recollection, he only remembers that this man with the surname Zhang was also from Guizhou province. The echo is very similar to that of the Sinan police. He was not tall, a bit ugly, and had a slight limp in one leg. As for his name, he has no idea where his home is specifically. He vaguely remembers that he mentioned it during a casual conversation. When he went home, he needed to take a boat to reach the other side. After he left the Guangdong bureau, he wondered if Xie Fang was still with that man named Zhang. He didn't know either, and later, after his daughter went missing, he called that man to ask, but the man said he was not with Xie Fang. Xie Fang should have been in Sichuan, on her way to find her boyfriend. When she went missing due to the earthquake, later, he inquired through various channels about his daughter's whereabouts. But there was no news, so, in his impression, his daughter should have died in the Wenchuan earthquake. After DNA comparison, the Sinan police confirmed that on May 7, 2008, the female corpse found by the Wu River was Xie Fang. 10 years had passed, and the identity of the deceased was finally confirmed. This meant they were getting closer to the truth. It's getting closer. However, just as the police began investigating Xie Fang's social connections, when the investigation was initiated, Xie Gang made a request to the police. His ex-wife Wu Shui and his daughter went missing right after. He requested the police to investigate together. This made the police, who had just relaxed their nerves, tense up again. Now, Xie Fang has been confirmed to have been murdered. So, is Wu Shui still alive? According to Xie Gang's recollection, the last time he saw Wu Shui was in January 2008, at a relative's wedding. After the wedding, she didn't stay home for the new year, but went straight to Chongqing. He learned from relatives that Wu Shui likely got a boyfriend in Chongqing, and later, while searching for his daughter, he also learned from this relative that Wu Shui had also gone missing. Based on this lead, the Sinan police immediately headed to Chongqing. Through searches, the police did not find Wu Shui. However, they discovered a woman named Wu Ying, whose physical features closely resembled Wu Shui. The police found Wu Ying's former boyfriend. They questioned him about Wu Ying's situation, but what surprised the officers was that Wu Ying's ex-boyfriend turned out to be Deng Chao. He is the same Deng Chao that UNTOLD mentioned earlier, the one who introduced Xie Fang to him. Recalling Wu Ying again, Deng Chao was still filled with emotion. He told the police he had always wanted to marry Wu Ying, but Wu Ying kept making excuses to avoid it. He wasted several years on Wu Ying, and in the end, ended up with nothing to show for it. In the end, he lost both his fortune and his life. Since the Spring Festival in 2008, he hadn't seen Wu Ying again. Now, he has his own family. As for Wu Ying's situation, he knows very little. He only knows that Wu Ying's family is from Jijin County, Guizhou Province. Since Deng Chao knows Xie Fang, and Xie Fang is from Jijin County, while Wu Ying is also from Jijin County. Therefore, the police concluded that Deng Chao's former girlfriend, Wu Ying, it's very likely that it is Xie Fang's mother, Wu Shui. After photo identification, Deng Chao confirmed Wu Ying is indeed Xie Fang's mother, Wu Shui. However, he only found out now Wu Ying's real name is Wu Shui. As Deng Chao said, the last time he saw Wu Shui matches with Xie Gang's account. So, where did Wu Shui go after she left? Who was she with? Wu Shui's disappearance and Xie Fang's murder really related? Now, finding Wu Shui's whereabouts is the next focus of the Sinan police. The police decided to combine Xie Fang's murder case with the case of Wu Shui's disappearance for joint investigation. At the case analysis meeting, the Deputy Director of Criminal Investigation Zhou Shifei suddenly thought of, on January 7, 2009, occurred in Sinan County, the case of the unnamed female corpse at Mazai Cave. At that time, a villager accidentally discovered, in this dark cave, there was a woven bag emitting a terrible stink. Driven by curiosity, he opened the woven bag. Inside was actually a highly decomposed corpse presenting skeletal remains. After forensic identification, the deceased was a female, approximately 40 years old. The time of death was around 10 months to a year ago, specifically in the first half of 2008. Moreover, the deceased had manicures and dyed her hair while alive. She was wearing pajamas. The police speculated that the time of her murder was probably at night, and, based on her clothing characteristics, the police analyzed that the deceased was likely not a local. By observing the surrounding terrain, the police found that the cave's location was hidden, and those able to find this location were likely local villagers. They should be nearby villagers. Later, the police targeted female migrant workers and local young men to see if there were any reports of missing outsiders, to determine if there were any cases of missing persons, conduct an investigation. However, due to the inability to determine the origin of the body, this investigation work proved to be exceptionally difficult. The results were like searching for a needle in a haystack. Slowly, this case became a cold case, until the emergence of the case involving Xie Fang's murder. After reviewing a large number of case files, perhaps out of professional sensitivity, Director Zhou's heart faintly felt that between these two cases, there seemed to be some kind of connection. The female corpse from Mazai Cave, could it possibly be Xie Fang's mother, Wu Shui? And where exactly is the thread connecting these two cases? Where could it be? After numerous analyses of the case, the police finally discovered, at the time, while investigating the Xie Fang case, in search of the body origin, the key investigation areas designated by the police included the village where Mazai Cave is located, and for the people of this village to go out, they must take a boat. More importantly, the people in this village, they are all surnamed Zhang. This information drew the police's high attention because Xie Fang's father, Xie Gang, had mentioned more than once the Zhang surnamed man who had introduced him to his job. Moreover, the accent of that Zhang surnamed man was indeed the Sinan accent. The police decided to conduct a focused investigation in these villages, to look for the Zhang surnamed man described by Xie Gang, a Zhang surnamed man matching the description. Soon, a boatman provided the police with an important clue. He mentioned that Zhang Bin from their village had brought two women from out of town home before. His house was only a few hundred meters away from Mazai Cave. Moreover, his physical characteristics were very similar to Xie Gang's description. They were extremely similar. Subsequently, the police immediately found a photo of Zhang Bin. After Xie Gang's identification, this Zhang Bin was the Zhang surnamed man known by Xie Fang. That Zhang surnamed man clearly had significant suspicion of being the perpetrator. The police decided to immediately arrest Zhang Bin. He runs, he chases, he ends up a pile of ashes. August 20, 2018. Zhang Bin was arrested and returned to custody. With the help of the Great Memory Recovery Technique, Zhang Bin confessed to his criminal acts without hesitation. However, when it comes to the murder of Wu Shui, He stated that he does not regret it. As for the murder of Xie Fang, it was also because of Wu Shui. However, until this moment, Zhang Bin only then realized that Xie Fang was actually Wu Shui's daughter. According to Zhang Bin's account, his girlfriend was not Xie Fang, but rather Xie Fang's mother, Wu Shui. Zhang Bin said that in the second half of 2006, he met Wu Shui, who was then using the alias Wu Ying, at a salon in Guangdong. Wu Shui was clever, articulate, and soon, the two started dating. In Zhang Bin's words, he is only 1.5 meters tall. Short and ugly. Short and ugly. Wu Shui was half a head taller than him. That Wu Shui would be interested in him. Wu Shui could take a liking to herself. Since she doesn't mind him, he will live well with her. After living together for a while, Wu Shui told him that she wanted to return to her hometown in Chongqing. So, Zhang Bin gave her several thousand yuan. Under normal circumstances, she would leave for about half a month, and then come back. In fact, the Chongqing hometown she mentioned was revealed later through police investigation to actually be her boyfriend, a man from Chongqing named Deng Chao. Deng Chao had also informed the police that during their relationship, Wu Shui would frequently return to her hometown, and she should have returned to Zhang Bin, who was working in Guangdong. Thus, without either party knowing this kind of life, the contact continued until January 2008. At that time, Wu Shui suggested that she wanted to visit Zhang Bin's hometown. So, Zhang Bin took Wu Shui back to his hometown. After seeing Wu Shui, Zhang Bin's parents were very happy. He gave Wu Shui a few thousand yuan as a meet-and-greet gift. However, Wu Shui only stayed for one day before suggesting that they return to her hometown in Chongqing for the Spring Festival. So, Zhang Bin followed Wu Shui back to Chongqing together. During this time, Wu Shui suggested that Zhang Bin take out 50,000 yuan to give to her parents as bride price. Zhang Bin did not hesitate at all, and withdrew 50,000 yuan from his bank card, handing it to her. Afterwards, Wu Shui took him to the mall, saying she wanted to buy him some clothes, but when Zhang Bin came out of the fitting room, Wu Shui had disappeared. Her phone was also turned off. At that moment, Zhang Bin realized that he had been deceived, and the frustrated Zhang Bin returned home to Sinan, filled with anger and questions. He went back to his hometown in Sinan from Chongqing, and spent an uncomfortable spring festival with his parents. After the spring festival, Zhang Bin immediately left his hometown and returned to Guangdong. However, what Zhang Bin did not expect was that the previously vanished Wu Shui. At this moment, she surprisingly took the initiative. He only remembered that the man named Zhang called him and asked Zhang Bin if he had left without saying goodbye. After her sweet talk, Zhang Bin quickly felt relieved. So, Wu Shui proposed to come to Zhongshan to find him. But she needed Zhang Bin to cover her travel expenses. Therefore, Zhang Bin sent her the travel money again. Just like that, the two lived together again. Not long after, Wu Shui told Zhang Bin that her sister's daughter was coming to Guangdong to work, asking him to help find a job. The girl who was coming was Xie Fang. Zhang Bin told the police that until he was caught, he had no idea that Wu Shui and Xie Fang were mother and daughter. He was even less aware that Xie Fang was already pregnant. In April 2008, perhaps seeing Xie Fang's belly getting bigger, Wu Shui wanted to find a partner for Xie Fang. She suggested that she wanted Zhang Bin to help in Sinan County to find a suitable young man for Xie Fang. So, Zhang Bin settled the salary, taking Wu Shui and Xie Fang. They returned together to their old home in Sinan. One night a few days later, Zhang Bin, who was sleeping, was pulled up by Wu Shui. She told Zhang Bin that she owed tens of thousands of yuan outside. She wanted Zhang Bin to give her money to pay off her debts. However, at that moment, Zhang Bin had no tens of thousands of yuan left, so Zhang Bin said, "When I make money, I will slowly help her pay it back." But in Wu Shui's eyes, it sounded like a brush-off, and she was very angry. She jumped up and grabbed Zhang Bin's neck. Moreover, she also threatened Zhang Bin that if he dared to deceive her and return to Guangdong, she would find someone to kill him. Hearing this, Zhang Bin was heartbroken. He recalled his sacrifices, and the times he had been deceived. He felt that in the end, he had still misplaced his trust, so the two of them went from arguing to fighting, and during the process, Zhang Bin picked up the fruit knife from the table and fiercely slashed at Wu Shue's neck. Wu Shue clutched her neck, and soon after, she succumbed to her injuries. Zhang's mother and Xie Fang, who came running at the sound, were stunned by the scene before them. Afterwards, with his mother's help, Zhang Bin hid Wu Shue's body in the cave of Ma Zai. But at that moment, how should Xie Fang handle it? He was in trouble again. After thinking it over, he concluded that only killing to silence witnesses would put an end to it all. So, 10 days later, Xie Fang's body was found floating on the Wu River. However, the occurrence of this tragedy, whether it was due to Wu Shue being motivated by money, cannot be confirmed anymore. But regardless of the reasons, he must take responsibility for his actions and bear the corresponding legal consequences. What awaits him is certainly a. See you in the next life, Maru.